This is Radio Ukraine International with the weekly program Doing Business and its host Rodion Zhizhnevsky. Stay tuned. Doing Business covers current economic developments in and concerning Ukraine, gives topical information and immediate and longer-term economic forecasts. It is what we think might give you food for thought and help you see Ukraine through the economic angle. Turn your radio on. All countries in the world are confronted by a common challenge. The lockdown has affected all spheres of our day-to-day life, turned our usual way of existence upside down, and taught everyone, without exception, to live in an entirely new way. The pandemic has had a tremendous global impact on the young generation. All around the world, quarantine restrictions disrupted children's health campaigns last year. As a result, during the holiday season, the number of accidents with children increased worldwide, and a huge number of summer camps had to leave the market. Due to the pandemic, summer camps faced severe socioeconomic consequences and were on the verge of survival. Hundreds of thousands of school children had nowhere to spend their summer vacations and looked for other ways and places, not always safe. The pandemic delivered a hard blow on the system of educational camps and forced their managements to reconsider other options, including online education. However, we should admit that this area is one of the few that have successfully switched to online mode. The transition was undertaken by the International Camping Fellowship, ICF. It deals with the problems of internationalization and develops partnerships for joint training programs. These are relevant today for most educational camps across the world. The International Camping Fellowship is the worldwide association of camp education professionals who share their enthusiasm, knowledge, and commitment to the camp and outdoor experience. ICF was founded in 1987 by an inspirational group of camp professionals with the vision of a better world through outdoor experience. Today we have the honor to speak with the fifth president of the ICF, John Yorgenson, from Canada. We are about to talk about the current state of offline and online camping all over the world. Will you tell us a little bit about the history and purpose of ICF? How did it all come about?
Thank you. I'm happy to talk about ICF. It's part of my love and part of my passion. The ICF is the International Camping Fellowship. It's an organization that has grown out of the work by camp professionals. The summer camp tradition began in North America, in the United States and in Canada, and there has this long tradition of an annual conference of camp professionals so that they can come together and discuss new trends and new directions and so on. And in the 1980s, these professionals began to realize that there was more beyond Canada and more beyond the United States, and that perhaps we should be building a more of an international sharing. And so the annual conference in the United States in 1987 became an international event involving organizers from Canada, but invitations from a number of camping-related activities going on around the world. And we tried to reach out and find people that were doing similar things. And we discovered that camping isn't just a North American tradition, that it has taken new forms, new shapes, and actually been born in different places and has developed up with a very similar philosophy and direction. In 1987, at this conference, there arrived a huge number of people from other countries. And so while the conference was going on, this group, representatives from these countries, got together and said, this is important. We can't just meet once in our lifetime. We have to meet regularly and grow together and learn from one another. That was the year that they announced at that conference that we wouldn't let it be just a one-event gathering, that we would form an association that would bring together the world of outdoor experience and camping and try to help one another understand the huge potential and the huge importance of camping as non-formal education, as the way children learn outside of school. It's a very important way because it gives things that in some cases are not available in the formal school system, and they enrich what is in the formal school system. So camp becomes a huge part of any child's life who experiences it, and it prepares them for life. And so the ICF was founded, and then in 1990, we had a visitor from Russia. His name was Valery Kostin, and his connection with Crimea and Ukraine is that he was at Artek as a camp director, and he came to the United States and stood in front of the conference and said, "Did you know that in the Soviet Union there are over 100,000 camps all across?" And we laughed at him. We thought he was crazy. How could this be? Because in the United States at that time, maybe there were 12,000, 15,000 camps. And so we realized that camping throughout Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, all of the other states and countries was a huge and important part of children growing up. And so we immediately made him a member of the ICF. Valery Kostin became a member of the board, and we have tried to reach out to Ukraine and to Russia and to all of the countries of the world to bring together the large family of camp directors and camp staff.
What activities is the association engaged in? Could you please tell us more about the ICF Board and how it's ruled? How is the work organized in different countries? How are the national leaderships, ambassadors elected or appointed?
Approximately, I think, 17 members of our board right now. There is a president and a vice president, the administration. And then there are 7 different individuals that are appointed to do specific committee tasks, and then a few additional members in order for us to represent as broadly as possible all of the different countries of the world. And so Fahrettin Gozet from Turkey is our president. Then our vice president is from Canada. Our secretary, Marco Reyes, is from China, but he was born in the United States. And then we have people that are involved with organization of Congress, organization of communication with all of our members, organization of our membership. The International Camp Directors course is a training program, and so one person is responsible for that as well. We have a group of ambassadors all around the world, and so someone supervises them. And we have our representatives are from Iceland and Australia and Japan, China, all across the world. We have tried to bring together the thinking about camp so that when we meet, our decisions are helping everyone.
How many countries does the association embrace, and how many participants does it have? Are there any particular national camp associations under ICF that are developing faster than the rest?
Well, I can tell you members and I can tell you organizations and countries, but I can't tell you exactly how many camps because we have over 5,000 people who are affiliates or members of the ICF. They represent over 100 countries all across the world, places that we didn't have any idea had some type of camping program. But we realize that outdoor education and camp is really all the same thing, that when we play in camp, we are also learning in camp. And when you learn in the outdoors, you are also playing in the outdoors. And so the sharing is very broad. Also in the ICF are 20 camp associations. So the National Association from the United States, the National Association from Australia and Mexico and Canada are all members as well. And so we have a special relationship with them so that the associations are really partners. So when we send out our communication, then those partners can send it out to all of their camps as well. And so we can then think that in every camp, there are anywhere from 50 to 200 camp staff, and all of those staff are looking after 10,000 children over the course of a year. So our potential to reach out to the wider camp community is huge. And so we really don't know how many people are participating, but we know that it is many. I can say quite honestly that every campus association is doing amazing work to build awareness in their country for the importance of camp experience. Somebody once said to me that the camp experience is the best experience possible for a child to go away to university, because at camp they learn how to cooperate with one another, they learn how to stand on their own 2 feet, to make their own decisions, and to realize that the world is not just their family and not just their school, but the diversity in the world is most important. And so every association that I'm in touch with recently has been fighting the challenge of COVID and trying to raise the collective voice, trying to raise the volume for the benefit of the camp experience for children's mental health, for their emotional health, for their social development, and even for their physical well-being. So the camp experience becomes critical. And there are people that don't know. There's members of the public that don't know about camp and how important it is. There are policymakers in our governments that don't realize just how important non-formal education is for children and youth. And there are educators in schools that separate the formal education from the non-formal education of a child's learning, and finding ways for the camp to stand together and to shout loudly, camp is important, is essential for children, has been going on with different campaigns and different programs in every country. You asked me about a big, clear example of amazing growth, and I think beyond the ones that currently exist, the place where I see the most rapid change is in China. The Chinese summer camp and camp community is really less than 10 years old, and it is trying to reposition the education philosophy for an entire country. They have adopted a term that I now use often, which is camp education, rather than just camp. Their parents and all parents need to understand that the child isn't just going to camp for a recreational experience. They're going for a 100% growth experience. They are not simply having fun. They are having fun with purpose. And that purpose might be to learn a new language. It might be to learn how to work and play with friends, to create a better understanding of who they are as individuals. The kind of tools and skills that children learn at camp are lifelong skills. We can say, oh, the child's learning how to canoe, or the child's learning how to use a bow and arrow. But in fact, the child is really learning how to become the best version of themselves. They can try out new ways of thinking. They can try out new approaches to relating to other people, and they can find their best selves in the camp experience. And that best selves goes home from the camp experience with them. So the best version of themselves becomes the best version of adults, and the best version of adults become the best citizens in a community. That is the part of the message that's coming through in China, but it's the important message about camp everywhere.
This is Radio Ukraine International with the weekly program Doing Business and its host Rodion Żyzniewski. Stay tuned. How has the pandemic changed the association's activities? Could you tell us more about ICC 2021 in China and other upcoming events?
We were scheduled to go to Beijing in October of 2020. And this was an opportunity. Each Congress is an opportunity for us to learn more about the camp community in the country, but also to bring to that country our best practices and our ideas, and to have a sharing and a networking. So that is the main purpose of the Congress. And we were scheduled for October 2020. COVID has pushed that off. And so we're now looking at the fall of this year, so in October of 2021. Our fingers are crossed. We know that it may still be very difficult to travel from a health perspective. It may be people will be challenged because of financial resources, because in many countries, camps have not been able to operate in a normal way over the past year. And of course, there may still be some travel restrictions and so on. So we are discussing the possibility and the way in which we can have some type of hybrid conference that would be in person for the camp community from China, and it could be available online for anyone who cannot travel. We really want people who can travel to come, because of course when you come to a new place, I think the only thing that is a better education than camp is probably travel. And so coming to China will mean an opportunity to have study tours, to see some campsites, an opportunity to meet the camp professionals and to build networking, and to participate in the cultural events that are always part of our Congress.
What needs to be done in Ukraine for the association's full-fledged activity, especially during pandemic restrictions?
I must say that I've only been to Ukraine once. It was magnificent. I was able to come and participate in ProCamp, and it was a great experience. I think whenever I travel to new countries, I am blown away by the energy, the enthusiasm of the young people that are coming together to have camp. It's something that should not surprise me, but it does every time. And I've also had an opportunity at Artec to meet members from Laleka, and we had a great discussion about things that are going on. I am not the person to really suggest what is happening in your country at this time. And ICF never tells a country how to organize itself. I can say that just like everywhere else, Ukraine can always benefit from sharing together. And the strength of the association gives strength to every individual member in that association. We have a saying in Canada about camp that really about community, that our competition as an individual camp is not the next camp. It's not any other camp. Our competition is all of the things in a country that prevent children from going to camp. If we could get all of the children in your country ready to come to camp, then every one of your camps would be full. And you would need more camps. So the most important thing is, how can the camp community convince educators and government officials and the public at large that the camp experience is an important experience for every child in your country? If you can stand together and do that, then all of your camps will be full, and all of your camps will be strong, and all of your camps will be a great example to those educators and to the policymakers.
Crisis or no crisis, plans must be made. High school students are facing a difficult choice of their future occupation and prepare for university entrance exams. It is especially difficult for those who plan to get a higher education abroad. In your experience, are there any student camps under ICF that prepare teenagers specifically for entering well-known universities?
The connection between camps and enrollment in a university is not a strong one. I feel very strongly that being at a camp is a great preparation for going to university, whether it's learning the language of the country or meeting people in an informal setting or just getting over jet lag. If you can be in a setting that is informal, then you can get your feet on the ground, so to speak, and become more comfortable for a formal school experience. So having said that, when a student chooses a country, then I would certainly recommend that if possible, they consider, how can I travel and get comfortable in that country before I begin my university time? And if that can be at a camp, then it is one of the very best ways that they can learn new things and just get over the strange things of a country and create relationships that can help them during their university time.
And last but not least, is there any experience in other countries of working with children during pandemic using the internet, radio, and television?
Is your program? You could always do that. I think you would be hard-pressed to find any camp director who feels that online is better than in person. We all know that the very best experience is when you can bring the community together. And so we are all waiting and all hoping and all working to have that time when we can welcome children into our camps again. In Canada, we were restricted by some government decisions and not able to operate camps at all. We are very hopeful that this summer we can follow the example of some states in the United States, from Mexico, and from a number of other countries that have been able to have in-person camps. Some camps have packed physical things into boxes and sent them to people so that they have camp in a box and then can participate in online craft programs or online activities. Some camps have developed one-way sharing information about camp. Some have formalized and had a full-on registration and created a virtual camp experience. For the children that participate, it's a valuable way to stay connected and to plan for the next time when we can meet all together. But certainly, I mentioned earlier the ICF Academy. We have had 3 presentations so far, and each of those presentations is now recorded and is available as a webinar series. And I am often engaged with podcasts and other interviews about camp. And certainly there are a number of camp events that are being brought into the virtual realm. I have participated most recently in the American Camp Association National Conference, which was all virtual. There are a number of podcasters who are doing live conferences. These are excellent ways that people can maintain their education and learn more about camps. There's a new software program, I think, called Clubhouse, which is available to iPhone users. And the ICF now has a room, and we meet regularly on Clubhouse in order to discuss different topics. So if people are interested, they can contact me, and I'm happy to help them connect with that.
That was the end of the first part of the interview with Mr. John Yörgenson on international camping. Without a doubt, kids are our future, and it's essential to provide them with the right education and proper recreation. Children's camps play an important role in developing worthy members of society, and it is very good that there is a global association that advises camps on providing online activities, standards, and rules during the pandemic. With all that, we are about to win our battle for our future and the future of our kids. That was Radio Ukraine's weekly program Doing Business, hosted by me, Rodion Жизневский, and produced by Irina Samsonova. Thanks for listening.